Imagine waking up to a midday sky gone pitch black. Birds go silent. Temperatures drop, but there's no lunar alignment, no natural solar eclipse scheduled by the cosmos. Instead, it's something we didn't. Humanity has blocked out the sun. And this isn't science fiction. It's science fact. For years, scientists have dreamed of controlling sunlight on a planetary scale. Today, that dream is becoming a terrifying reality. Welcome to the artificial solar eclipse. What sounds like a plot twist from a dystopian thriller is actually being tested in labs, funded by billionaires, and debated by governments. The idea is simple, at least on paper. If global warming is driven by too much sunlight hitting the Earth, why not reflect some of it back into space? It's a concept known as solar geoengineering, and one of its boldest proposals is to mimic the effect of a volcanic eruption by releasing particles into the atmosphere to create an artificial eclipse. This would scatter sunlight, cool the Earth, and buy us time against climate change. But at what cost? To understand how we got here, we need to go back to 1991. On June 5th, Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines erupted with a fury not seen in nearly a century. It sent 20 million tons of sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere. The result, a planetary-scale dimming of the sun. Global temperatures dropped by nearly 0.6 degrees Celsius in the following year. Crops were affected, weather patterns shifted, and sunsets turned blood red around the world. It was nature's warning shot and a blueprint. Scientists took notes because, for the first time, we saw a global cooling effect not caused by greenhouse gas reductions, but by sunlight manipulation. Fast forward to today, researchers from Harvard, MIT, and other institutions are exploring how we could recreate this volcanic shade intentionally. The Stratospheric Controlled Perturbation Experiment, or SCoPEx, aims to release tiny amounts of calcium carbonate particles into the upper atmosphere and study how they scatter sunlight. Backers include the likes of Bill Gates, who believes geoengineering might be one of the emergency tools we need if climate tipping points are crossed. It's controversial, sure, but it's already happening. Here's how it works. High-altitude balloons or specialized aircraft release reflective particles, usually calcium carbonate or even diamond dust into the stratosphere, where they form a thin haze. This haze reflects a portion of sunlight back into space, cooling the surface below. It doesn't create a full blackout like a solar eclipse, but over time and across large regions, it mimics the dimming effect. It's like putting a planet-wide pair of sunglasses on Earth. And like sunglasses, it doesn't fix the problem, it just filters the glare. The idea of deliberately dimming the sun raises enormous scientific, ethical, and political questions. Can we even control the outcome of such a massive intervention? What if the particles drift unevenly, causing droughts in Africa while cooling North America? What if we stop the injections and experience a rapid rebound in temperature known as termination shock? And perhaps most frighteningly, what if one country decides to go ahead with it alone? Scientists agree on one thing. An artificial solar eclipse would not solve the root problem of climate change. It's a band-aid on a bullet wound. Carbon emissions would still rise, oceans would still acidify, and ecosystems would still collapse. But in a future where heat waves kill thousands, ice sheets disintegrate, and coastal cities drown, blocking sunlight might feel like the only option left. It's a climate emergency, brake pulled only when everything else fails. There are precedents for manipulating the sky. During the Vietnam War, the U.S. military launched Operation Popeye, a weather modification program that seeded clouds to extend the monsoon season and flood enemy supply routes. In China, cloud seeding is regularly used to ensure clear skies for national holidays. And in 2021, the UAE made headlines by using drones to create rain in the desert. Controlling weather isn't new, but dimming the sun? That's a leap into unknown territory. Supporters argue that solar geoengineering is cheap and effective. According to some estimates, launching enough particles to offset global warming by 1 degree Celsius would cost just a few $1 billion annually, far less than the economic toll of climate disasters. They say we can adjust the dosage, fine-tune the coverage and monitor the effects. But nature is not a thermostat. Once we start messing with the sun, we might not be able to stop. One major concern is the moral hazard problem. If politicians believe solar geoengineering is a magic fix, they may delay or abandon real solutions like cutting emissions and transitioning to clean energy. It creates a dangerous illusion that we can keep polluting and simply shade the consequences. And if we deploy this technology without a global consensus, we risk turning climate control into a geopolitical weapon. Picture this. One superpower decides to cool its own territory using solar dimming, only to cause droughts or failed monsoons in neighboring countries. Suddenly, an artificial eclipse becomes an act of war. The atmosphere has no borders, and sunlight is shared by all. Who decides how much light is enough? Who holds the off switch? These are not scientific questions there. Political powder kegs. Some climate models show that solar dimming could reduce hurricane intensity or slow the melting of polar ice. Others warn it could disrupt monsoon cycles that billions rely on for food and water. The Amazon rainforest might suffer from reduced sunlight. Crops in some regions might grow better, others worse. The risks are uneven and the winners and losers hard to predict. And then there's the psychological toll. Humans evolved under the sun. We mark time by its rise and fall. What happens when the sky turns permanently hazy? When sunsets are less golden and midday skies look like twilight? Studies show that prolonged exposure to dim, gray light affects mental health, increasing rates of depression and anxiety. Are we prepared for the emotional cost of a man-made eclipse? In many ways, the artificial solar eclipse is a mirror. It reflects our desperation, our ingenuity, and our hubris. We have warmed the planet so fast and done so little to stop it that we're now considering blocking out the star that gave us life. It's poetic, tragic, and possibly inevitable. The technology is advancing. The pressure is mounting, and the temptation to pull the trigger grows stronger each year. But this isn't just about Earth. Some scientists argue that learning to control sunlight could help us terraform other planets. Mars, for example, could benefit from temporary atmospheric warming or cooling during colonization efforts. Artificial eclipses might help regulate habitats on lunar bases, or shield future space stations from intense solar radiation. In this context, Earth becomes a testbed for interplanetary survival. And while the artificial solar eclipse sounds new, the concept dates back centuries. In ancient China, scholars recorded the cooling effects of large forest fires. In the 19th century, scientists noted the global temperature drop after the eruption of even the 1815 eruption of Mount Tum, which caused the infamous year without a summer, inspired literary giants like Mary Shelley to write Frankenstein amid eerie darkened skies. The difference now, we're no longer waiting for nature to dim the lights, we're reaching for the switch ourselves. It's important to note that no large-scale artificial solar eclipse has been attempted yet. All experiments so far are small, localized, and heavily regulated. But the future is wide open. As climate impacts worsen, the calls to do something anything will grow louder. The next generation may not remember a world with a clear blue sky unfiltered by human hands. They may inherit a twilight planet, dimmed not by chance, but by choice. We stand at a crossroads. On one path is a future where we confront climate change with clean energy, reforestation, and sustainable living. On the other, a path where we play God with the sun, hoping the artificial eclipse doesn't turn into a permanent night. The stakes couldn't be higher, because once we dim the sun, we may never see it the same way again. So next time you enjoy a clear sky or feel the warmth of sunlight on your face, remember it might not always be free. One day, the sun itself could be regulated, rationed, or reflected, not by nature, not by fate, but by us. The artificial solar eclipse is no longer a theory. It's a ticking clock in our hands. If you're fascinated by the science and future of Earth's climate, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Beyond Stars, and turn on notifications. Because the future isn't just coming, it's being engineered.